Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, you GuMPers.
Hey, you GuMPers! Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show. Hola, bom dia, alegria. Tudo bem? Como estás? Why have I got a naked screen? What's that about? Has Mrs. M been messing about in the studio again? Let me just make sure I've got the right backdrop. That's better. Where did that suddenly go? Fantastic. Okay, who's in this morning? Great to see you. James, Stephen, Coach Turner. James has brought Pema Chodron with him this morning with some fine words. So deep thoughts from James and T-Duck. T-Ducking, of course, from a modest 2 minutes past 8 this morning. Good morning to you, T-Duck. And Deagle, of course, so far. How are you doing? That's mainly the gentleman, isn't it, this morning? The gentleman of the Good Morning Portugal Gentlemen's Club. Come on, ladies, please break up this testosteronic atmosphere, if you will. A few things that got left out yesterday. Pajama Day and Michelin. Our Michelin guide promises some more stars, I think, for not more stars necessarily, but a historic year for Portuguese gastronomy. So let's have a look at those, and let's do those soon before we forget. It's going to be a bit of a newsy day today. Oh, Anna, thank you for being here and changing the atmosphere from all gentlemen, as far as I could tell. Blessed with a little bit of, and Victoria, fantastic. Blessed with a little bit of yinny, feminine energy this morning. But that's not to say some of the gentlemen can't bless the atmosphere with their female side either. So anyway, before I get myself into any more gender-based trouble, I'll move on and say good morning to Mark as well. The gentleman's cave does not sound right. Nobody should have to go there unless they want to. Oh God, I'm not helping myself this morning. Let me play the news jingle, and I'll move out of gender issues into possible accusations of sexism. But I didn't make the video, did I? That puts some lead in your pencil first thing in the morning, doesn't it? Okay, where's my news page? Did you see what I saw during that video? Thank you, Doug, for that. Yes, Doug made it. 370 for a ride. I think it was on the 28 tram. Did you notice that as well? Was that what drew your eye during that video there? And let's go to the GMP news page then. And last night, received a bit of shock information talking to Gilles. I'm going to click through to the GMP news desk. And if you've not seen this before, thank you for all the traffic there. For those of you who do go to the news desk and to other parts of the GuMPer website, here we have on the left-hand side some of the. I nearly tripped into my own self-declared dislike trap of calling news stories, but my own drafted efforts on the left-hand column, and on the right, other news, links to other things that I think may be of interest to you. Now you'll see if I scroll down, I was talking to Gilda last night on Migration Tuesday, and tomorrow Thanksgiving, of course. And actually, while we're talking about Thanksgiving as we are now, can I have a little bit of a primer? Can you let me know what you're up to, Americans? Are you bothering? Are you going somewhere nice? What? If I want to celebrate Thanksgiving with you, what should I be doing? Should I be buying a turkey today? And should I be having a nice turkey dinner tomorrow? And what other aspects of Thanksgiving might I be observing? Some of the more spiritual, perhaps, and pastoral elements of Thanksgiving, or do I just stuff my face and then fall asleep on a chair in front of the World Cup? Is that what you do? Because you have a big sporting event on Thanksgiving as well. That sounds like it might clash with the World Cup fixtures tomorrow. Anyway, I understand that the World Cup is not that important and doesn't stream on TV anyway, does it? In America, in the United States, that is. So yeah, let me know. Please educate me in and how to approach Thanksgiving. Should you be doing that yourself? And you'll see as well tomorrow evening, I will be talking to Daniel Reis of Reis and Pelicano about Portuguese citizenship, which has a certain irony about it, doesn't it? One of the most American of American celebrations tomorrow, and the consideration of a different citizenship with Daniel Reis tomorrow evening, courtesy of Expat Portugal. And yeah, from 7:30 to 9, I'll be talking to Daniel about that. But in my conversation with Gilda last night takes us to a different news item, the strike. Embassy staff. I'm going to click through and read this out to you. But embassy staff around the world are going on strike. Portuguese embassy staff warn of 6-week strike through Christmas. And I'm going to have a look at that now. Actually, yeah, let me share that with you as well, so you can see what I'm talking about. This is quite serious, actually, for anybody who's in the process of applying for a visa and needs to speak and visit a consulate around the world. I think it's pretty much all consulate staff, Portuguese embassy staff around the world. I don't think it applies to VFS because they're a separate company, of course. But this is more trouble for the Portuguese government here. And sorry to be the bearer of this news, but I think it's worth mentioning it because it does apply to people's lives and what they're trying to do. Oh my God, let me just get rid of that advert. That's terrible, whatever has happened to that person's foot. And just let's get rid of that cheap shot astrology there and come back. Not the sort of stuff that Mrs. M does. Let me just get rid of all the ads. Google, get off the page. I'm trying to show everybody what's going on. With in the Portugal resident, Natasha Don reporting then the embassy staff deliver pre-advice for strike action from December the 5th. I'm not entirely sure what that means. Whether that means they are striking, or it sounds like they intend to strike unless their demands are not met. Would you agree? It's only one paragraph. Joining the increasing ranks of public sector workers on a collision course with Portugal's government is the Syndicate of Embassy Workers, which sounds like a frightening gang, doesn't it? You have been visited by the Syndicate of Embassy Workers, which last night, and this was reported on the 21st, so on the 20th, they sent a stiff and stern warning to the government, which was a pre-advice for 6 weeks of strike action. And as I understand it from Gilda last night, it starts on the 5th of December. Oh, yeah, starting on the 5th of December and works its way through Christmas. And Gilda, with a somewhat cynical tone, said, yeah, they'll be off for all of Christmas. Now, I think a lot of Portuguese workers don't get a massive. I mean, you might come from somewhere where there's a shutdown at Christmas, and that can be quite nice, can't it? Things closing down around the 24th and then not reopening until the first week of January. That's how I remember a few of my working years in England. But it's not the case necessarily in Portugal. You might just get a couple of days off, and you might work in the middle period between Christmas and New Year, the perineum of Christmas, you could call it. And it's certainly by January, you're back in the saddle and working. However, these embassy staff will be off for that whole period from the 5th of December through to early January. I think the 12th, as Gilda said, way beyond the 12th night, actually to the 12th of January. And the Secretary General of STCDE, the syndicate that I mentioned before of embassy workers, explained the whole of Portuguese public administration hears today what the salaries will be in 2023. That would have been the 20th of November. Check this out, children of a lesser god in Portuguese administration. That's got a real poetic tone to it, isn't it? We, children of a lesser god in Portuguese administration, remain abroad, not knowing what will be applied in our respects. The syndicate seeks salary negotiations and the publication of agreements made with the government. Okay, so it sounds like they're not necessarily, they haven't made the decision to go on strike, but they're threatening to, unless they get to hear what their pay and conditions will be, because they feel like they've been left out as children of a lesser god. Amazing. Okay. And I'm wondering if there's any other news I should tell you about. We mentioned yesterday, didn't we, that Reddish Magazine's latest edition is out. Great chat with Bruce Joffe yesterday. And that wonderful World Cup video from RTP. I think I might play that today. That could be a bit of a giggle with the doc. And Portugal week continues. And we did make up that Kevin and Piri meme, which I will also bring to you at some stage this morning. No ticker tape at the moment because I forgot again. Can you believe it? I must start making notes. Wouldn't that be sensible? Must start leaving myself a few post-it notes around the place that I could ignore. But ask anything about Portugal Wednesday. It is today, of course, and we are joined by the doc at 9 a.m. So it's asking. I'm going to do it now. It's asking anything about Portugal Wednesday with the doc. Let me just change that. It's going to be a fairly straightforward operation to do this. No medical pun intended. But if you do have any medical questions, of course, the doc was a GP for many years in the United Kingdom, and he may be able to talk to you about any ailments you have. Please don't send pictures, even though I'm putting the WhatsApp number. Please do not send any medical pictures to 913-590-303. Red rag to a bull, I know, to some of you. And that's ticker tape is going onto the screen now. I hope that is correct. Here we go. The doc at 9 a.m. this morning. Yeah. From a lay-by somewhere near Leiria. So far, so good. Oh, he sent a few notes in about things we might look at this morning with him. And let me tell you what they might be. Yes, cold, wet weather. What can you say about it? Except there seems to be no end to it. Did I say yesterday that although we seem to have 300 days of sunshine, we appear to have 65 days of rain as well? That could be a Portuguese saying. Should we install that into the lexicon? Lots of money promised for high-speed rail here, says the doc, but most of the network is inaccessible. Now, he means that from a disability point of view. So, yeah, good for those who can get to the railway line and get on a train, but not so good for those people using wheelchairs, apparently, and Doc may talk about that. The Brexit appointments with Seth, how's that going? We can have a look at that. They have theirs, as in that's the Doc and Leona have got theirs coming up this week. The IMT license change, Doc may talk about today. So anything about Portugal, I've called the show today Access All Areas for expats, for expats living in Portugal. What the doc has done is managed to involve himself in most areas of Portuguese life, so he's a good resource and a good person to ask. He has changed his license. Why I did mine despite no immediate need anymore. Why did he do that? And he's had his 4th COVID jab. You might want to ask him about that as well, how that went and why he's decided to do that as well. He joined us in about a quarter of an hour from now, and also says could also look at the Supreme Court ruling on Indy Ref 2. That's a very niche interest, Doc. That will be for the Scots seeking independence from the United Kingdom and the possibility of an independent Scotland. That's a direction of travel, isn't it? What do you think? Despite most people's, if you ask people on a good day, we're about unity, aren't we? The sensible people of the world, about less limitations and boundaries and fences and bonhomie and good feeling, and coming together in a unified way. That's a good day, isn't it? And then on the ground, with boots on the ground, people seem to be wanting to move further and further apart from each other. More fences, boundaries, walls, nation states, and so on. Everything seems to be breaking down into smaller and smaller units. So we will see. Anyway, and a decision is being made at court. That's exciting stuff in British politics there. You may or may not wish to talk about that, but I think it's nice to pop into the niches. I have asked you about Thanksgiving today, and Scottish people watching might get their moment today as well for a little bit of coverage as well. All of that with the doc from 9 o'clock. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Okay, so we have our Black Friday as well, don't we? Oh, there you go. Thanksgiving. What does it mean? It means a big old meal, a sleep in front of the sport, and some bargains. Now, I did ask if there's any spiritual significance. We may come to that. Oh, Sex Finder here again this morning. Sex Find XYZ. I think we need to ban you, Sex Find XYZ. Now, a lot of these sorts of people, they're spamming, aren't they? And they don't have the guts to come and tell us to our faces. Interestingly, we are going to do a dating. I don't know how well you can connect what's on the screen at the moment, and maybe I should actually. I'm going to leave it on there for a minute because I know how this works. Okay, this will be on Facebook. The Good Morning Portugal streams the show, the live streams on. And sorry if you're watching on the podcast. Well, I'll explain to you that there is a comment on the screen now which says "Sex find XYZ free virtual girls chat in U City." Can't even be bothered to get the spelling right of things. Typos hastily typed, probably by someone on a very low wage in some awful conditions there. But I know that what will happen now. This will be scrolling, or people will be scrolling on Facebook, and they'll see this. They might see the subtitles, and they'll certainly see that on the screen and think, "Oh, I'll just take a little look at that. I wonder what Munson's talking about this morning." But do it quickly because I'm about to ban this person. Sex fun. You were here yesterday. What do? Put user in timeout, or should I block user? Oh, let's just block them. You pain in the posterior, you sex find XYZ. Sorry if that's a sideline business of anyone who's operating here, and I've crushed your commercial moment there. Deagle says, "Bon dia, Carl and GuMPers from a wet Belfast, 6 degrees overnight, but a yellow weather warning." Oh, my goodness, you too. But a yellow weather warning till midday for rain. And what one's views on Cristiano leaving Man United? Does he go to Sporting once the World Cup is over? I think he may have known about this, right? Things are kept from us, aren't they? Things are managed behind the scenes. And then it looks, oh, he spontaneously decided to leave Man United whilst at the World Cup. Do you believe that? I'm not sure. I'm not saying one way or another, but things are rarely as they seem. Wouldn't that be true with the news? And of course, Cristiano has left Manchester United now. I think they're going to sue him for the privilege, but I don't suppose. I imagine in the scheme of his business plan, it probably doesn't really matter, and nothing will happen with that for several years anyway, until after he's retired. And I think the owners of the club, that's part of the problem, isn't it? The Glazers, I think, may move out of Man United. Good times for Man United fans in a way. The clearing of the air. Cristiano's gone. The Glazers, the Glazer reign might be over. I wonder what's going to happen next. Your guess is as good as mine, and we'd be glad to hear it in the chat. Bon dia, great GuMPers from T-Duck at 2 minutes past 8. And I'll be here for most of the show, says T-Duck, but need to leave before it ends, and I'll miss the meetup again. Yeah, meetup today. Sorry that you won't be there, T-Duck, but we'll see you at the Bohemia if you're coming along, the best wet weather venue for us. And I'm hoping they're going to show the fixtures today, which will be 22nd of November, of course, and 23rd of November, of course. I'm looking at the wrong part of the screen. The 22nd of November fixtures were where we saw Saudi Arabia upset Argentina with a 2-1 victory. Denmark drew 0-0 with Tunisia, Mexico 0-0 Poland, and France gave Australia the expected thrashing of 4-1. Could have been worse, I suspect, but 4-1 to France. And today's fixtures then, Morocco versus Croatia as the show ends today. Germany. Now, if you're coming to the meetup, hopefully we'll be able to see Germany versus Japan on the big screen in Bohemia at 1 o'clock today. That should be an interesting match. Spain versus Costa Rica at 4, and Belgium versus Canada at 7 o'clock this evening. Okay, what's on tomorrow when I'm talking to Daniel Reyes? Oh no! The Brazil match will be on while I'm talking to Daniel. But Portugal are playing at 4 tomorrow. Okay, so that's the one. If you're not interested in football, that you could at least make an exception at 4 o'clock tomorrow when Portugal plays their first game against Ghana, which they should win, shouldn't they? Your comments and views on that too. Okay, I'll move on from the football for anyone who's banging their head against their table at the moment, wishing that I would. Deep thought then from John C. Maxwell this morning from the Maxwell House. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. Oh, that's a nice way of looking at life, isn't it? And John Calvin Maxwell, American author, speaker, and pastor. And your Portuguese saying of the day is Andorinhas Lucas, ides muitas vindas poucas. That's nice, isn't it? Andorinhas Lucas, ides muitas vindas poucas. And for some reason, I don't know why, but that has reminded me that it was so easy to pay my gantry tolls yesterday. You know, there are two kinds. I'll come back to your Portuguese saying. Two kinds of tolls in Portugal. For whom the bell tolls when you're driving along the motorways. There is the Via Verde and the ticketed option where you can stop and get it all done and dusted, or have it added to your Via Verde transponder bill. And those gantry, if you ever find yourself, if you don't have a transponder in your car and you find yourself driving under the tolls that just read your number plate, and then want to send you a bill. And if you haven't paid it, in 10 years' time, finances will probably write to you with a massive bill and fine. So it's worth, if you ever find yourself in a position thinking, did I just drive under a gantry toll reader? You can just pop into a post office, which is what I did yesterday, paying my toll bill. Finally, I was stopping at the ticket booths for the main motorways, and my goodness, 40 odd euros to get to the Algarve. Some talk of reducing those in Portugal. Maybe have a chat with the doc about those as well. But very expensive. But you do get the road to yourself, to be fair, and the services are excellent, though not cheap. And on those gantry highways, and I think in the Algarve there is it the part of the A22 that's got the gantry above reading your number plate, and the ACP I think are taking the Portuguese government, or that not the government necessarily, the private companies, aren't they, who run those, I think, or it's public-private financed and some sort of collaboration between the state and a private company who seem to be doing quite well out of it. Let's not go there right now. But if you find yourself thinking, oh, did I just drive under there because I had no choice on the A22? That's why the ACP are bringing legal action, because it's all very well when there's a toll and you have a choice. But if you don't have a choice, that seems a bit unfair. That's what they're taking the action about on the A22, I believe, in the Algarve. And I was on there. And if you're ever worried that you might have knocked up or incurred or racked up a fine, not a fine, racked up a toll via the toll roads that have the gantry above and read your number plate, just pop in, finally getting there to the punchline of this little anecdote. Just take your registration number into the post office. And in fact, you could take anyone's registration number into the post office. If you fancy doing a good deed, those one of those random good deeds, you could just go take a few registration numbers and matriculation numbers of Portuguese vehicles into a post office and pay their toll bills for them. Very easy. You don't have to show any proof of ownership of the vehicle. Why do they care about that as long as the toll's being paid? And very easy it was too. What feels like a temporary post office in San Martino de Porto only took cash, strangely. So I had to go for a second visit, but I had a nice chat with the legend who is Gaston, who I hope to share with you on the screen one of these days. And I was talking to him yesterday about some tours of San Martino de Porto. He's an absolute mine of information and very entertaining fellow. I'm hoping that we can bring him onto the screen, or at least introduce a few of you at a meetup one day or a walk around San Martino de Porto. Anyway, Portuguese saying, Andorinhas lucas, ides muitas, vendes poucas. Crazy swallows, go many, come the few. Swallows that do seldom learn, flying southward to return. I've no idea what that means. Now, come on, what does that mean? Crazy swallows go many. Is it many come and few are chosen? Is it that sort of thing? Where you see a lot of swallows in the sky and there are many triers, but there are perhaps few victors. Oh, I miss him, don't you? Maybe one of our Portuguese friends can explain this one. I don't quite understand it either, says T-Duck. Thank you. Have we got a Portuguese friend here yet? We haven't, have we? Marcus is our best bet for helping us with that, I think, this morning. Where's a Joao or an Antonio F when you need one? Okay, so we do need some help with that. Or please, could someone send that to a Portuguese friend? Oh, I've got to do pajamas and Michelin, haven't I? But I've also got to bring onto the screen for you. If you want to throw a 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s music quiz question to me, I will be with Colin and Phil and Maria at the Silver Coast Volunteers event this evening, which I'm sure will be a fundraiser. And we are taking questions, or we will be facing questions on 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s music with quizmasters Christine and Paul. And we're signed up for that. Thanks to Colin for that. That's where we'll be this evening from. It's an early start, I think. Doors open 5:30. Quiz starts at 6 at Infusion, Pinhal, Óbidos. Maybe see you there. It's another GMP roadshow kind of thing. Looking forward to meeting people there this evening, including somebody I've not met before. Jacqueline Branco, I think, will be there. It'd be lovely to see you there, Jacqueline. So that's, if you're watching now and you can see me and that is coming out without my lips moving, that's going to be a bit odd. Let's go back to the live action, shall we? Okay. I'll bring onto the screen now, before I forget again, the wonderful Katia Lima piece about National Pajama Day. It's not for grown-ups. Don't get too excited if you've got your pajamas on and you're thinking you can go to the shops now. You can't. This is for kids. Well, you can, of course you can. Do what you like. But it's not sanctioned by Portuguese culture, let me put it that way. National Pajama Day. Katia Lima was writing about this on November the 20th, because that's when it happened. It goes back to 2019, but it's one of her perennial pieces in her blog at beyondlisbon.wordpress.com. If you're in Portugal and notice a lot of kids today wearing pajamas on their way to and back from school. That's because it's National Pajama Day. Yes, that's a thing, she says. Let me explain. November the 20th, 1959, some of you might remember that, was when the UN General Assembly adopted the Declaration of the Rights of the Child. And on the same day, but in 1989, the UN General Assembly adopted the Convention on the Rights of the Child. National Pajama Day, Dia Nacional do Pijama, began in 2012 through the Mundos da Vida organization, and its purpose is to remind everyone that all children have the right to grow up in a family. Isn't that lovely? On this day, children in Portugal get to wear pajamas to school and take part in several solidarity actions. Now I'm curious, do you think Pajama Day should include adults, says Katia Lima, signing off that particular piece there. Great bit of writing, to the point, and educating us into what goes on in Portuguese culture. That one then, that will be, you'll know next year, won't you? How do I know about that? The Good Morning Portugal show and Katia Lima. And so look out for that. I believe it happens, every November 20th, okay, where you'll see kids in pajamas. There you go. Let us then share with you the Michelin for you foodies here. Don't forget, Relish Magazine has just been published. And we're going to show you the story now. News item from the Portugal News. We've had a look at the Portugal Resident this morning. We're having a look at the Portugal News now. And the promise here from the Michelin Guide, a historic year for Portuguese gastronomy, which is, I think, how you should say it. Bear with me a moment. I just need to have a sip of tea. Now, just how odd is that when it all goes quiet? I wonder. It's called dead air in the trade, but we brought it back to life. The restaurants distinguished in the Michelin, and I will keep saying it like that. Get used to it. Okay, Michelin, Spain and Portugal guide. Do you say Michelin or do you say Michelin? Michelin. Will be revealed tomorrow night. So when was this published? Oh, a day ago. So this is fresh. Not quite as fresh as the food on that picture there, with a little bit of guacamole and a salsa, I think, going on in that picky. Would you eat that? Looks all right, doesn't it? It doesn't look Michelin to me. It looks a bit, I gotta say, it looks a little bit messy, that. I'm not that I wouldn't eat it, but you expect, don't you, when you go to Michelin level, that it would be a little bit tidier looking than that. I mean, that looks like a very tasty amuse-bouche, staying with the French this morning. But not, I mean, I'm sure they could have found better pictures of beautiful Michelin food. But anyway, the Portugal guide, that includes Spain as well, 2023, will be revealed tomorrow night at a ceremony in the Spanish city of Toledo, which the organization promises will be historic for Portuguese gastronomy. Anyone else keep an eye on that? What do we know about it with that announcement, which would have been yesterday evening, I believe? Portugal currently has 7 restaurants with 2 Michelin stars and 26 with 1 star. Did you know that in the 2022 edition of the Michelin Guide, Portugal won the first star for 5 restaurants: Al Sud in Lagos, Tavira in Tavira, funnily enough, Cura in Lisbon, Esparão, Reguengos de Monsaraz, that's a vineyard-related restaurant, isn't it? And a Vila Forge in Porto, and kept all previous distinctions, so nobody lost their stars. The Iberian Guide continued not to recognize any Portuguese restaurant with the maximum rating of 3 stars. A unique cuisine justifies the trip if you have 3 stars, apparently, which was awarded to 11 establishments in Spain. Come on, Portugal, we can do this. I wonder, did we get a 3-star? Was it last night at this particular event? Anyway, during the ceremony, the Green Stars will be again handed out for the 3rd year, an initiative of the Michelin Guide to recognize the commitment to sustainability. Them too, huh? In this year's edition, the Portuguese restaurants Il Galo Douro, Funchal got 2 Michelin stars, and Esparão, Reguengos de Monsaraz, 1 star were awarded. Oh, so that's already happened. I'm confused, but you get the gist. Confused about a number of things ongoing. That Portuguese saying of the day, and now the Michelin Guide. I shall move on, but just to let you know that foodies around Spain and Portugal, the Iberian Peninsula, of course, will have things to delight their taste buds to look forward to. Bookings and reservations to be made. What are you saying in the comments this morning about any of that, about Thanksgiving? Do you have any 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s questions for me? Music, please, rather than just any old questions from the period. And the doc will be joining us soon. Oh, some lovely pickies. Whilst I'm pretending to listen to what the doc's saying, I'll be downloading those, Victoria. Keep that between you and me, okay? And the harsh reality of buying a 130... Sorry. That's not inside, is it? I can quickly download this one. I think Victoria sent me quite a bunch of pictures, so I'll have to download those somewhat differently. And it's going to take a little bit longer, Victoria, but I will bring those to everybody. But this quickie here from Bill this morning, this is the harsh reality of having a 130-year-old house in Portugal. Are you inside? And you are reading, of course, to help you. You are in the bathroom there, aren't you? It would appear. That's a shower curtain, isn't it, behind you? Very nicely done within the Portuguese azulejo style. You look like you've got great taste there, Bill. But you're reading just to get over the fact that it is raining in your bathroom there. The subtle art about not giving a about what's going on there. Brolly up in the lavatory. Very good. Thank you for that, Bill, this morning. So you think you... Yes, inside is the message from Bill. Oh, bless you. It saves money on using the bidet, though, doesn't it? If there's an incoming source of water, maybe. I don't know. Please don't send pictures of that. Okay. What? I remember this guy. Moaz. Let me see now. Definitely. Moaz. That rings a bell, doesn't it? Where's he been? Nigel Henry here this morning as well. Morning all from our very wet Oxford. And Marilyn enjoying the Algarve. Okay, so Marilyn's in the Algarve now. And Nigel Henry's back in Oxford as we continue with our 90-day lifestyle. Is it better than residency? I'm not sure. And there is talk, isn't there? Of course, Chris might know about this and will be interested to know as well whether Spain and Portugal will challenge the EU's rules and extend to 180 days for people, which takes it back to the more attractive 6 months here, 6 months there, doesn't it? But doing the right thing, Nigel, popping back home just to make sure all the paperwork is right on the border there. What a funny world we live in, eh? Punch that like button. Wow, this morning, if you will. Dad jokes to come. Oh, would love it when I share a dad joke with the doc. He might have a few himself. Have we got any help then yet on this Andorinhas Lucas Ij Muitas Vinhos Poucas Crazy Swallows? Go many, come few. Go many, come few. Kung Fu. Maybe one of our Portuguese friends can explain, as T-Duck says there. Neither of us quite understand it. Hugo Nuno. Portugal's oldest ally is England, of course. I knew that. The Treaty of Windsor was signed back in 1386 in the 14th century, believed to be one of the oldest and longest running alliances between modern nations. Yay! Well done, England and Portugal, on that. And bon dia from James. Hey, Carl, it's Slug, yes. Bon dia, GuMPers. Feliz Gata todos. Tudo bem. Muito bem, obrigado. And a Yogi Berra quote of the day from James. I just want to thank everyone who has made this day necessary. Damned by faint praise. And I cue this. Compassion for others begins with kindness to ourselves. And we do say this, don't we? From time to time, you know, it's like charity begins at home. You could apply this in that same way, couldn't you? But there you go. From Pema Chodron, I know a great inspiration to many followers and fans of Buddhistic teachings. Compassion for others begins with kindness to ourselves. Thank you for that. Pema was, of course, ordained Tibetan Buddhist and former disciple and student of Chogyam Trungpa, one of the first Buddhist masters to introduce Buddhism to the Western world. What a legacy. What an introduction. Chodron is a well-published author of Buddhist philosophy worldwide. Thank you very much, James, for that. Lovely. It's so important for us to have a little bit of inspiration in the mornings, right? Thank you to all who bring inspiration to the show. Bon dia, GuMPers. Arc building in Hertfordshire. Raining there as well. My goodness, when will it stop? When can we complain again about how dry it is and how empty the reservoirs are? Bon dia from Stephen. How you doing, Stephen? And God Squad tip of the day then. Place a chair behind you and put a foot, toe down, on it. Sounds like a dance move to me. Then try bending and the standing leg. So, okay, place a chair behind you. Are you visualizing this? Place that chair behind you and put a foot, toe down, on that chair. Okay, then try bending the standing leg. My goodness, you might need supervision or assistance with this one. Gradually, you'll be able to go lower as you build strength. Who doesn't like to go lower and build strength first thing in the morning? Both legs, 5 reps. Come on, let's see ya. Okay, thank you very much for that, Coach Turner. And hola, bon dia. Oh, from Anna. How you doing, Anna? And Victoria as well. 2 great photographers, Algarve-based. Hola, bon dia, kids from the amazing Algarve. The amazing Algarve! Did you see that vintage poster, Victoria? that was on the newsletter. Absolutely beautiful. Of the Algarve. It was probably from the 60s or 70s. Really nice print. I wouldn't mind one of those. Aren't tourism posters fantastic? And that was a great example from the Algarve. Bon dia from Mark. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Who did you draw in the sweepstake, Mark? Remind us, have you got a match coming up? And the Gentleman's Cave does not. Indeed, it does not. Morning, Victoria. Had a very Portuguese dinner last night. Bacalhau at 10 o'clock. Now, that's Portuguese in two ways. The joke there, the in-joke, of course, is not only did you have bacalhau, which is very Portuguese, but you had it late in the evening. It's almost breakfast for some people, that, isn't it? Well done, you. And today's Portuguese cultural appreciation award goes to Victoria, who had bacalhau last night at 10 o'clock. Bon dia alegria from Marcus. How you doing, Marcus, this morning? And I certainly wouldn't count. What's that? Feminine side? Is that what we're talking about? And how is the Portuguese budget going? Don't know. I did when I was looking at the Portugal news, though. I was going to treat you to which products have risen in price most this week in Portugal. I just thought it was too depressing, quite frankly. There are 1,000 more GNR officers on the way, and weather warning due to rain and snow. Oh, it's a bundle of laughs, isn't it? Oh, Christmas. Oh, no. Oh, yay, Christmas lights. Oh, Christmas light restrictions across Portugal. And do you know what? This bugs me. Restrictions on Christmas lights across Portugal. Do you remember last year? I don't know what it was. Why did I have a little wiggly hair last year? And we got into light up Christmas. We're gonna have to do it again this year, aren't we? Now, just because the Christmas lights are being restricted doesn't mean we can't have photographs of them or videos of them. And let not the spirit of Christmas be dampened by these ridiculous restrictions that needn't be the case, need they? We've got solar power, we've got renewable energy. This, I think, is, I'm going to say, I just think it's propaganda. I just think this is a way of making people unnecessarily miserable. Now, fair enough, cutbacks might be needed, but no, not at Christmas time. That is the one, you need contrast and relief, and you need ups as well as downs. And I think a special effort should be made to make Christmas absolutely beautiful for kids and everyone, for everybody. So let's do our best this year to light up Christmas. And we start next week when Emma joins us from the Belters. I don't think she'll be singing Christmas songs, but she will be back to do that closer to Christmas. So you can take your Christmas light restrictions and you can put them where they might illuminate where the sun doesn't shine. There you go. I said it. Victoria Benton doing Thanksgiving at a fabulous party in Lagos on Sunday afternoon. Okay. Report the spammer. You sound like a king this morning, T-Duck. Report the spammer. Off with his head. I've blocked him. I've shown him the only language they understand. T-Duck. We are celebrating tomorrow. However, let me just say that they were talking about dating loosely, I think, weren't they, with that spamming? But we're going to talk about dating, relationships, and marriage, traditional and modern in Portuguese culture, when Maria João Silva joins us, who knows a thing or two as well, I think, about tantric insight. So we could go there. Should we go there tomorrow? We are celebrating tomorrow for the first time in 4 years. We are inviting our British neighbours so that they can have a proper American experience. But what is it to be able to use the lavatory whilst using an umbrella? That's not a traditional American Thanksgiving experience, is it? I don't know. We'll find out. Haven't celebrated Thanksgiving for quite some time, so being here in Portugal suits me just fine. In the US, says James, continues, you better buy your turkey 4 weeks ago, or you might not get one, nearly impossible within days of the holiday. Yeah, that would be me. We'll be watching the Portugal match on the real Thanksgiving Day tomorrow. Good plan. So move Thanksgiving to Sunday and watch the Portugal match tomorrow on Thanksgiving Day. Also seeing CEF appointments open for Brits now. Thank you, Victoria, for that update. And I wonder if Frank is happy with the Ronaldo Man United news. I wonder as well. I mean, I think he'll be glad to see Ronaldo coming back to Portugal. Might get to see Ronaldo play at Sporting, of course. So swings and roundabouts. Something needed to change. There's something needed to change at Man United, didn't it? Thanksgiving is always on a Thursday, but Friday is not a holiday. So many Americans also take a day off from work on Friday. It's always on the Thursday. So it's not always on the 24th. It's always on the Thursday around this time, I guess, then. Bairandi, how are you doing, mate? Another night of ringing out. This man is still struggling in the Bairrada, the damp Bairrada, hopefully for another couple of days. So that's until the rain stops or until that problem gets fixed. How awful for you, Andy. Thinking of you, mate, over there. And that is the official kickoff of the Christmas season, the origin of Black Friday and sales to start the consumer feeding frenzy of holiday shopping. The doc will join us in a couple of minutes. Maybe he's waiting for that Scottish decision there. Hola, bon dia from Chris, Capricorn Chris. Nice turnout this morning. Thanks for being here. Where is U City? What's that mean? And morning all from the wet Oxford from Nigel. Good question, Nigel Henry. That's what I'm considering as a first step. Well, how are you finding it, Nigel? 90 days on, 90 days off. And Andy is being very topical with Piri and World Cup. Had lunch at the football legend Piri Pele restaurant yesterday, but they weren't showing the football, were they? You sent a picture of that. And I've got a little picky of Andy's cheeky lunch at the Pele restaurant with a dinner service to suit, right? And I need to show you this. We'll come back to yours, Victoria. But this is a lovely picture of the dinnerware. If you're a Pele fan, football fan at all, you might like to show this picture. What happened to it? Where did it go? I thought I'd just downloaded that. Yes, I did. There you go on the screen for you now. That'll be the Pele restaurant, cafe, restaurant, snack bar, Pele LDA. It's funny, isn't it, having the LDA on there as well? But a lovely little caricature of Pele there. And a nice, let me just take that comment to see what Andy was having for lunch. What do we think he had there? That looks, is that like a pica-pow? No, there's rice there. I think he might have had the bitoque on a bed of rice and a cheeky vino verde there. Very good. Carl goes from gender comments to cancel culture. Yes, I do. In by the end of a sentence, start off being all right on and virtue signaling, and by the end of it, I'm ranting against anti-woke culture. It's so difficult being me sometimes. Honestly, you've no idea. I heard a reassuring boop in the background. And you might have heard it too. I think we've lingered a little too long on the Pele dinner service there. Let's bring onto the screen and a round of applause. Oh, look at you, Doc. You're looking very...
Hola, bon dia.
If you don't mind me saying, Doc, you look a lot fresher faced than when I last saw you.
Yeah, I have my ears lowered by about an inch.
Very good. Is that a painful procedure? Would you recommend it?
Yeah, it was actually fun. remarkably comfortable.
He's not talking about plastic surgery, everybody.
Accompanied by a cup of a free cup of coffee.
Coffee at your barber's, then you get a complimentary cup. Very
coffee
good.
and a snooker table and good music.
Right, now that's going to be difficult for the barber while you're playing snooker and dancing to give you.
Yeah.
It could lead to a personal injury there. But I've got to say, I love the atmosphere of a barber's in Portugal, and this is interestingly as well could take us into a little bit of discussion about gender politics, could it not? I do like the all male atmosphere of a barber's. Should I be thoroughly ashamed of myself, Doc?
Yeah, well, I don't think you should be ashamed of what you like. I mean, there's all sorts of places we won't go around that statement. I was thinking about this yesterday. I can't really see Leona going in there for a haircut, but she likes the atmosphere.
Yes,
I think she went in a couple of times, broke his furniture once, and apart from that, yeah, it's all good. But I have to say, the reverse is not the case. I don't like the atmosphere or the smell in ladies' hair salons. So
I don't know. What do you mean?
Well, there was. I always associated the salon that my mother used to go to with a horrible smell, which really put me off. It must have been one of the could be.
I'm thinking yes,
certainly different.
It's certainly not what Al Pacino would have been appreciating in a ladies' salon, is it? The scent of a woman. Hooah! I must watch that again. What a movie! Hooah!
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. So, and it is definitely a Portuguese thing, part of Portuguese culture. The male barber shop. Go in there. Mrs. M came in last time I was in one, and I got a bit uncomfortable. I've got to say, because she started chatting to the barber while he was working. She loved it as well, and so that's testament to how attractive the atmosphere is. But generally speaking, a blokey one, have a beer, have a coffee, chat nonsense, and have a nice haircut, as you can see the doc has had there. And we can see from your barnet as well, Doc, fashions do seem to be going back to the 80s and 50s, right? You look like you could be in the army as well. No disrespect.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's austerity fashion.
So what else goes with that? So the flares are coming in. We're not going to waste any material. Are we going to have drain pipes as well, do you think?
Who knows? Who knows? I think just when the I don't know what it is, but it's something to do with austerity that leads to an explosion of creativity. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it, that we have to be all sort of punished financially for our creative side to show. But that you're right, it does happen, doesn't it? I mean, I think punk rock is a good example, and
Yeah.
indie music generally. When things get driven underground or times get tough, people can get resourceful, and that might show itself in art as well. What a fascinating insight! And it only took you, I think, 5 minutes to squeeze in a political angle on things there. Austerity.
Well, I haven't started for political yet.
So a number of things we might discuss is ask anything about Portugal Wednesday. And what I love, Doc, about you is that you have touched on, interfered with so many aspects of Portuguese life. You're an all-rounder, aren't you? If you're a bit of a, as a cricketer, you'd be an all-rounder, whether it be the medical system, driving, traveling to and from Portugal. You've done it all, mate. And you gave a few topics.
Well, I think if you're going to immerse yourself in a society, then you have to relate to every aspect of it.
Yes.
You can choose to be an isolated expat and only relate to the very small bits and pieces you have to survive, or you can be a fully integrated member of the host community, or attempt to be a fully integrated member of the host community.
Well,
and there's a big difference.
There is a big difference. There is a very big difference, actually. Yes, and that's prompted in my fertile imagination is to ask people about their Portuguese bucket list experiences. So you first, then, Doc. What haven't you done yet that is very Portuguese or to do with Portugal that you would like to do?
Oh goodness. Well, most of my stuff is about traveling and experiencing the history and the beautiful environment in Portugal. So, amazingly, given that it's so close to us, I haven't yet visited the monastery at Tomar.
Have you not?
No, and I've always been fascinated by it as someone who is always interested in Templar history.
Yes.
So that's on my very very short-term bucket list, and actually, hopefully, we might get to take my parents there. They're coming over for the Christmas period, so that's possible.
Convent, though, right? Convento rather than
Convento de Cristo. Yes, that's true. I'm not sure what the difference is in Portugal. Obviously, in the UK, it was very much convents for nuns and monasteries for monks, but that wasn't the case here.
Yes.
So actually, that's something I might explore as well. I would love to go over that long glass bridge. But
the suspension bridge, is it accessible?
Well, no, that's the problem. It isn't. So
Ooh.
I don't know what I'm going to do about that. What else have I not yet seen
Oh,
and
let's
experienced?
back up the truck on that, or back up the wheelchair, possibly in this instance. Why is it not accessible? It looks wide enough to have a wheelchair. Is it getting up to the bridge that's the
The
problem?
bridge itself is accessible. It's beautiful. It's the trek to it. Involves a lot of steps. I understand.
Okay.
I haven't been up there yet. I'd love to go to the that village in the Estrella over Christmas. That will
Monsanto.
kind of depend on the weather and family views.
Yes.
I've forgotten what it's called now, but anyway, I've got it marked on my Google Maps.
Is that Monsanto?
Um, sorry,
Monsanto.
it's not Monsanto.
Okay. Well, we want that on our GuMPer map as well. Have you seen the GuMPer map recently, Doc?
No, I've been slightly diverted, but no, I will do so.
It'd be great to have it on there, wherever it is you're talking about. But I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. I put you on the spot there, and you've come up with 3 very Portuguese things for your Portuguese bucket list and for your full and foremost integration. And while you're talking there of the Convento de Tomar, I'm thinking I can see you in a past life as a Templar physician, possibly in the. It's not a royal court exactly, is it? It's more in the Knights' Court.
The Knights Templar were very much almost a forerunner of the EU. They were above the state. They were so powerful
Yeah.
that they were not really subject to state laws, and almost at one point even were dictating to the Pope. They were so powerful.
Bit like Klaus Schwab or Bill Gates now, I suppose. But let's not dwell on that analogy. But I can see you there. I can see you in that Templar court with a few jars of maybe leeches and some early physician equipment at your disposal. A little bit physical therapy, a little bit regular, sort of medicine of the time, and a little bit of alchemy as well. That's how I've got you, Merlin-esque. Yes.
Definitely.
Okay. Advising Gualdin de Peixe, I think his name was there. Okay, we're talking about Thanksgiving as well this morning, Doc. The holiday, says James, is based on the mythology that the settlers kindly invited the Native Americans to join them for a feast. More likely, though, says James, the settlers were starving and the natives brought them food, but they didn't let a good PR moment go to waste. So cynical, honestly. And this Moaz fella is back. Bom dia, Carl. Moaz, it's so lovely to see you. And James agrees. Moaz, bem-vindo de volta. Where you been, mate? What's going on? It's just come into the room like nothing's ever happened. Hey there, Slug. Yeah, como estás? Tudo bem? And also saying the whole Middle East region bursted with joy yesterday at the amazing win of the Saudi Arabia team again. It was fantastic. I heard some commentary. I've got stuff to learn from the Arabic commentary teams. It was fantastic. Did you watch it? Are you following the football?
I haven't actually seen any of the matches yet. I'm not sure if I have to pay for an upgraded subscription on my telly, but I was very interested to see the score lines. I suspect, along with the whole of Arabia,
Yes.
I suspect that Britain erupted when the Argentinians went down. There are long memories of the hand of God.
Oh, we just can't let it go, can we? And Moaz is hoping for a few more, I think, Arabic flavored upsets in the World Cup. Tunisia versus Denmark. I don't know. That was, I don't know. I didn't see that. It looked a bit boring, actually. I did see it, but I didn't tune in properly. 0-0. I think Moaz was hoping for a few more Tunisian goals there, perhaps. Best go to the shops with your pajamas on than your pajamas off. I wonder if he's speaking from personal experience there. With that little insight. Thank you very much, Stephen. It was pajama day on the 20th. That's why we were talking about pajamas, where kids go to school in pajamas, Doc. Just asked a Portuguese friend about that saying. He didn't know either, but he sent me a link showing that it's from a poem that was turned into a song. So that was Portuguese saying of the day. How's your Portuguese going, Doc?
Mais ou menos.
Okay, very good. I like what you did there. Portuguese saying andorinhas loucas, idas muitas, vindas poucas. Crazy swallows, go many, come few. We're trying to figure out what that means. And if we go back to the T-Duck's been on it talking to Portuguese friends about this, trying to find out what's going on. Just asked a Portuguese friend about the saying. He didn't know either, but he sent me a link showing that it's from the poem that was turned into a song. The poem is about the world of swallows, their flights, their nests, and their eggs. A story of generations and migrations full of wind and feelings. I mean, we all get like that from time to time. So maybe that's the first thing we can ask you, Doc. When you're feeling full of wind and feelings, what's the best cure for that?
Don't eat the feijoa tomorrow.
Okay, feijoa today, but not feijoa tomorrow. I mean, it's a rather light-hearted approach to your medical advice this morning, I see. It is based on the poem by the same name of Matilde Rosa Araujo, set to music by Fernando Lopes Graça. I think we need to hear that. I love to hear the story of the swallows because there's a human metaphor there, isn't there, with the way people travel to and from the Iberian Peninsula. You're in your car, you're in a lay-by. We're hoping that the GNR won't tap on the window at some point and ask you what the hell you're doing there. Why did you exchange your driving license when you didn't need to, Doc?
Well, the new law says that Portugal will recognise anyone's driving license as long as they're under the age of 60. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
What worries me is that when I reach the age of 60 in a few years, not many, but a few.
Ages, yeah.
You'd be surprised. I then need to take a driving test because at the moment the rule is that you have to exchange it within 2 years, and if you exchange it within the rule isn't that. The old rule was you exchange it within 2 years, and if you exchange it within 2 years, you don't have to do a Portuguese driving test.
Yes, I know where this is going.
Yeah, it's not clear that if you avail yourself of the fact that they're happy to let you drive on a UK or US or any other driving license until you're 60, do you then have to take a driving test? And I suspect the answer may be yes. Whereas to renew a Portuguese license at the age of 60 merely requires medical certification.
Yes, and that's not arduous at all, is it?
No, I've had 2 of those. One of them involved the guy listening to my heart and checking my eyesight, roughly. The second one involved no physical examination and no proper eyesight check, which was remarkable. I wasn't upset. They passed me fit. But I suspect that the IMT ought to have a slightly closer look at the standard of the medical certification. It might explain some of the rather strange driving that we see in Portugal.
Ooh, okay. You say he examined your eyesight roughly. He didn't manhandle you in any way, did he?
No, not at all. He didn't use a Snellen chart either.
Oh, what?
A Snellen chart, that's the one that's got a big E at the top and then decreasing sizes of various letters as you go down.
Oh, and you can make people read out ridiculous things with one of those, can't you?
You can, yeah.
You can get them to say anything reading. Oh, so that's what it's called. There you go, in the trade. Yeah. So then, am I following you that if you change your license, then you might not have to take the test? That might be a little.
I definitely won't have to take the test. But if I don't change my license, I might have to take the test at 60. And while my Portuguese is progressing, I wouldn't want to take an English test at 60, let alone a Portuguese one. So
yeah, right. So that's a little strategic offering there from the doc. And that might explain a sudden influx of license exchanges before the age of 60 from a number of foreigners, right?
So my license exchange, well, I've got my bit of paper that says I can drive for the next 2 months, and if I'm lucky, I'll get the license within the next 2 months. And if I don't, then I shall continue to drive and claim I don't know, something if I get stuff.
It was because I had my eyesight checked roughly. I've never recovered. But that's also could be on your Portuguese bucket list, couldn't it? Actually, no, the Portuguese bucket list would be having to wait a really long time. But and I think you've probably done that for one or two things
Oh
already.
yeah.
Okay. Any other suggestions then for doing Portuguese things? Do let us know so you're truly immersed in the culture and not one of those people that the doc was referring to that keeps themselves in a cloister, in a foreigner's cloister of some sort, as though you were living like a blooming Templar in the convent there. Yeah, and it's interesting you should say that. We do think of Templars as fellas, but it's called it's not the convent. It's the convento, isn't it? A convention, not a convent. That's why it's called that. It's a convention of Christ.
It's the same word, isn't it, really?
I suppose it would be convent and convention. Yes, they don't mean it in the sense of ladies in wimpoles and habits. Although I dare say that would have gone on from time to time. We have our needs, don't we, Doc?
Absolutely.
Okay. Little raise of the eyebrow there. Did you have those trimmed as well when you were at the barber's?
Yeah. I was. He didn't ask. He just did it. He knows. Yep. He knows that Leona prefers my eyebrows trimmed, so he just carried on.
And that, my friends, you can be assured of. You may not get asked. The eyebrows will get trimmed. The nasal hair, the ear hair, and other extraneous hair that you've been wondering what to do about for the last several months. They just take care of it, don't they? And they should probably give it to the medical industry, right, to be turned into various things. Would it have a use?
It could make, I don't know, the length of my hair yesterday could have made syrups.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, name of the poem then that we were talking about, the music of Fernando Lopes Graça and the lyrics, I think, by Matilde Rosa Araujo, is the Balada das 20 Meninas Fiorentes, the Ballad of the 20 Chile Girls. It's getting more and more interesting all the time, isn't it? Some lovely pickies then from the Sunday lunch on a hidden beach in Cavairo, Val Santianes. Where is it? Can't tell us. It's a secret, I suspect. But look at these pictures, Doc. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Cavairo is beautiful. What a lovely place that is. Glass of white, glass of water, or is that vodka in the one on the right? And there's another picture of the beach there. These are beautiful, Victoria. Thank you so much.
Victoria, it's probably vodka.
Ooh, cheeky. And a lovely rosé, a melosa, and a madroño. That was. You're right, though.
There you are.
Not vodka.
I've never met her, but I've got a measure.
Yeah, you're so insightful, an intuitive medic. A lovely rosé, melosa, and a madroño, flanking a meal of Thai steak and clam and shrimp esparguete. Oh, that sounds fantastic. Loving that glass of rosé there. And we had a wonderful time, didn't we, drinking Vinho Verde, Doc, at the last wine club. Wasn't that a fun evening?
Yeah, it was, actually. Yeah.
And Phil is going to be, he made a somewhat drunken promise to lead the next one and made the theme ice, didn't he? And I think he's regretting it now.
Did, yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll see what he comes up with.
All right, Garvo might have something to say about this. I just thought if I lived in the Algarve, then I could adopt the tag name Algarvo. From Alviagra, Algarvo. We call you that anyway, don't worry. In the sweepstake, Mark got Iran convincingly, yes, lost to England. Sorry about that, Mark. And Poland. So you had a sort of consolation draw, but boring draw against Mexico yesterday. So not too excited about your sweepstake choices there, Mark. Sorry about that. Blame Mrs. M, not me. Tudo bem, Moaz and Algarvo. Perfect name for you. We're getting to a medical question, funnily enough, quite soon. I've been making clips of Christmas lights for a short video coming soon. Light up Christmas. We'll do it again. I was moaning earlier on, Doc, about this Christmas light restriction thing. Some things should be sacred, I think. And I just think it's propaganda sometimes when these sort of restrictions are made. And I just think Christmas is not a time to mess with people like that.
Hold on. I've missed this Christmas light restriction. Okay. Sorry, what is it?
It's like that. It sounds like we're in the movie Airplane now. Christmas light restriction. What is it? Well, it's where they don't allow you to use the Christmas lights. I know that Bad week to give up sniffing glue. Anyway, Christmas light restriction here. I'm going to bring the news item onto the screen, and let's see what we think about this. I might have to move you. Oh no, I can leave the doc live from Leiria lay-by. Any questions? And we will get to the first of those in just a moment after we've seen this sorry news. Christmas light restrictions across Portugal. See when and where there will be Christmas lights in Portugal this year. And who is it who's writing this? By TPN Loser, just a reprint, really. The energy crisis is leading municipalities across the country to plan to have their Christmas lighting turned on for shorter periods than in other years. Boo! And to resort to the use of low consumption technologies. This is, I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound strange, but it's almost like gaslighting, isn't it? Kind of.
Yeah.
Lisbon lights. In the city of Lisbon, where the city council is once again investing around 750,000 euros on decorations. Wow. Christmas lights will be on between December 6th and January 6th, with a reduction in the daily operating hours, the longest of which will be from 6 p.m. until 1 a.m. on Christmas Day and New Year's Eve. A reduction of those, the longest of which, they're turning them off between 6 and 1. Another measure taken by the capital to reduce the consumption is the use of LED technology lamps. Well, that's not a bad idea, but no one needs to know about that, do they? That's something to celebrate, which will guarantee savings of 50%. And on it goes. The Câmara de Eiras in Porto, Viana do Castelo, they're all turning lights off strategically to show that they're not wasting energy. Now,
we'd kind of noticed that the lights at the castle at Leiria are not on for as long as they have been.
Right. Okay.
It's very sad.
I think so.
As long as they're not stopping us from draping our balcony with lights, then at least that's something.
Well, who knows? A representative from the World Economic Forum might give you a knock on the door and threaten your spending on your digital currency one day if you keep doing stuff like that, Doc. I went there. Okay. And it brings a new meaning to Black Friday when all the lights go out. What is this? When retailers return to being in the black. That's why it's called Black Friday. Okay, so we still have the information coming in about Thanksgiving. I'm not happy about this reduction of lighting at Christmas, and peeing on the chips of people who are delighted by seeing the lights. We live in a country where we have renewables at quite a scale. And the country's been proud of that previously. We have solar power. We could, I think, light up Christmas as we did last year. And that was for a different reason, of course. Yeah. But let's do it again this year. Let's lead the way with that, folks. Do send me your Christmas videos of lights, and we will do our best to replace where they've been turned off by the government with our own videos on YouTube. Before that gets shut down and cancelled as well. Rah! Thanksgiving being a day of gluttony, too much food, and 2 American football games all on a Thursday. Sounds like fun, doesn't it?
Sounds like a precursor to Christmas.
What could possibly be wrong with that? Hopefully, Morocco, Croatia, today will be another win for the Middle Eastern team, says Moaz. How are you, Moaz? Really great to have you back. Looks like duck rice. Oh, maybe, that's what Andy may have had. I celebrate every day when the calendar or Hallmark tell me to. Oh, not when the calendar or so, well done. Stick it to the man. Don't celebrate all these marketing-led celebrations. I hear there are lots of chicken shops in Piri Vale. Ouch! Dad jokes for you later on, Doc. It is Piri Piri week here on the Good Morning Portugal show, where we have artists such as Piri Como for your pleasure, Doc. Piri Mason. Chuck Piri. Piri Manolo. And the red hot Piri peppers. Keep them coming, folks. Nice little giggle there. It really is time we asked a medical question of the doc whilst we've got him here. Oh, this was the first one. Doc, getting older? That is a question for you, which, given that we all are, I will answer yes, he is. It's shock horror, he is getting older. But what are your recommendations for vitamins and minerals, Doc, in older age?
Okay, I think I've probably been here before, but so I think everyone should take a general multivitamin and mineral supplement. There's been research going way back showing the reduction of micronutrients in our food, mainly due to processing and storage and chemical farming. then every black person in who's living in a northern or southern latitude should be taking vitamin D, as should actually many non-black people, but they should have tests to see what their status is in the first place. Even in Portugal, with our ridiculous number of days of sunshine, which seem to have disappeared for the moment.
Yeah, whatever.
So vitamin D, yeah, important. Omega-3s, essential fatty acids, for the same reason as the multivitamin and mineral supplement, because essential fatty acids are depleted from our foods. Yeah. What else?
Well, that's pretty comprehensive so far, but you make a good point about getting tested for deficiency, because if you just take it without getting tested, it's kind of superstitious, isn't it? You may or may not be hitting the mark.
And you could be spending the money on coffees and tosters and beer. So,
Yay! So yes, worth possibly going to a naturopath or somebody who tests vitamin and mineral deficiencies. That sort of practitioner maybe, who can tell you what you might be taking or not taking, and whether what you're taking is a useful one. Because again, I think some of the supermarket ones that people think, oh yeah, that looks good, that's $2.99. Every vitamin and mineral I need in it. It might just be cheap old rubbish that just gets peed down the proverbial, right?
Yeah, I mean, I get mine from Amazon. Boo.
Boo!
However, it does mean that I can get very good quality stuff from German providers at reasonable cost.
Yes. Okay. All right. And so Simon is suggesting vitamins.
Zinc, zinc's a very good idea. I mean, ABCD will be covered.
And K2, isn't that a mountain? K2.
It is actually, yeah. All of those will be covered in a general multivitamin mineral supplement. But you're right, Simon, absolutely.
There you go. Doc, oh dear. Are the Lib Dems the only option for the UK to rejoin the EU?
Oh, there's a question.
You don't have to answer it. Do we want to go down this dark road?
Well, we will have a decision very shortly, in a few minutes, as to whether or not the UK will still be the UK, because at 9:45 the Supreme Court will deliver its verdict on whether the Scottish government can have its independence referendum without the permission of Westminster.
Yes.
If they say yes, then if the economic hardship continues the way it's likely to, I think that the move for independence will increase, and it's quite possible that Scotland will leave the Union in very short order. If that happens, then the entrenched Conservative majority will become even more entrenched south of the border, although it'll fail in the short to medium term due to the last couple of years. Will the Lib Dems bring us back to rejoin the EU? I think actually they would if they got into power, but I don't think they'll get into power without proportional representation. And actually, if we see proportional representation come in, which now is Labour Party policy, I think that will lead to a breakup of the larger parties, and we will see probably 3 or 4 parties replace the Labour and Conservative parties.
Happy times. Yes.
And I think it's impossible to predict where the positions of those 3 or 4 parties will be on Europe. But I think that the move will be towards a rejoining, but it's going to take 20 years.
Yes. Okay. And in that time, there's just going to be, I think, indignation, resentment, and chaos. And can you imagine a situation now? Forgive us, folks, for dwelling on this for a moment, but I think it's quite interesting how it impinges or connects with European politics more generally, because Europe is not without its separatist and independence efforts, is it, across Europe? Of course, and it probably never will be without that, given how people are and how history has been. But if you had a Scotland that rejoined the EU, and you had Spain and Portugal saying, well, we don't care what the EU say, we're just going to let people stay here for 180 days, you're going to get lots of, it's not chaos exactly, but lots of confusion, and the whole notions of federated decisions and power will be breaking down, won't they, in front of our very eyes?
Yeah.
Which I
Well,
think
it's this tension between centralism and devolution,
yes,
which exists in all politics everywhere. So
yeah,
it's not surprising that it happens. The problem is, one of the problems is when governments or political systems try and write those things in stone, which is what has happened both with the EU and with the UK.
yes,
The tensions in the UK took slightly longer than 20 or 30 years to surface after the UK was formed, but that's probably because there were lots of very powerful, violent people at the top who just stopped the movements for secession.
yes,
But
yeah.
in the UK, of course, we've had separatist movements almost in the EU, separatist movements almost starting with the creation of the EU.
And it's a very interesting situation for the Remainers, isn't it? Who pro EU people who are hearing of Spain and Portugal saying we're going to relax the regulations, we're going to do what we want. So on the one hand, a federalist EU supporter will say, no, even though I'd like to stay for 6 months, you mustn't let me because I'm all for federal
Yeah,
centralized power. What an unfortunate position to be in. And it would be a test
yeah,
of
absolutely.
political principle, of course, at that level.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see if there's news on the Scotland referendum because it was due at 9:45. The
It
question is
will come out on
whether
time,
the
will it?
judges give the one line decision before they give their reasons, or whether they do it the other way around.
Okay. Yeah, they might have a 2-hour intro to the to the
Well,
might
no,
be like,
it's not expected to be more than 15 minutes, but
oh, so we might find out. Big news then for the United Kingdom, or not, as the case may be.
yeah. But it may be big news for Europe as well,
Yeah, of
for the
course.
reasons I outlined.
Yeah, and Scotland rejoining the EU on its own accord. Right.
And possibly then, given the fact that Scotland will control much more North Sea oil,
Yeah.
even though we don't want to be burning North Sea oil. I think hydrocarbons are going to play a part for a long time, and possibly with a clean extraction of hydrogen from hydrocarbons, then that could continue for quite some time.
Fascinating stuff.
I'm
Okay.
having difficulty loading anything on my other device, so I can't see what's happening on BBC
I
News.
I will keep an eye on what's going on BBC UK.
Yeah,
Okay, so UK senior judges to rule on Scottish vote power. So nothing has been revealed yet, and I'll keep an eye on that myself, Andy. Okay, when Portuguese take a day off to join a holiday to the weekend, they call it a bridge. What a lovely, isn't it? The best one is when it's on a Monday, right? When the holiday's on a Monday and they just take the rest of the week off.
yeah.
Doc, a question for you then. I have mobility issues because of my chronic back pain and sometimes need to use a wheelchair. Not always. Is Portugal a wheelchair-friendly country? Great question. Thank you, Moaz.
The answer is it's fantastic in places and it's very frustrating in others. So in some parts of Portugal, you will find beautifully dropped curbs, um, elevators, a fantastic culture which says you're in a wheelchair, you go to the front of any queue.
Yeah.
And you'll get offered help by 95% of people you come across. You'll go to the front of a queue in a supermarket, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But there are places, and it's not every rural place. Some of the best adapted places are rural, and it depends, I think, on the funding and the politics of the freguesia concerned. But you'll come across places with horribly high curbs with no ramps, or a ramp at one end of a pavement, and then 3/4 of a mile down at the other end there's no ramp, so you have to go back. So yeah, it does depend where you are. The other thing is that in terms of public transport, so I think all the buses are now wheelchair adapted. The long distance coaches are not, but they'll all have luggage holds that you can put a wheelchair in if you're able to get up onto the bus. The trains are my big bugbear because the Alpha Pendula are fantastic with wheelchair lifts, fantastic wheelchair lifts that come down onto the platform and lift you and your wheelchair up. But every other train, which is the vast majority of rail services in Portugal in terms of places covered, etc., have no wheelchair access at all. And they've just published a rail strategy which involves billions of euros of investment. And at my first reading, which is basically limited to searching for the Portuguese words incapacidade and accessible, zero occurrence of those. So there seems to be no plan for disabled people in that rail strategy, and I'm going to look at that in greater detail in the next few days.
Well, please keep us informed about that. Maybe we can do a little bit of blogging. I mean, I don't know if you do that anywhere, Doc, but that would be great information, of course, for Moaz here and anyone else who might be similarly interested, and a very good use of our GuMPer map as well. You know, especially accessible and friendly places of points of interest would be fantastic additions to our GuMPer map, which is on our website. You can find it there. We call it the GuMPerverse, and you can see who's been most busy there. That'll be Andy in the Bairrada region. But you can see we've got good coverage across the country now with the GuMPer map, and it would be great to have some accessible sites on there. There is a new...
My battery might be going, and I may not be able to get on the other
Well, it's been lovely having you. Should that happen, I feel like I should do the dad jokes with you before you go. But just to let you know, Andy, there is a new entrance to the Long Bridge now. Good news, Aruca. The road goes direct to the start of it. So we could possibly all meet up and go on the big bridge together that you mentioned at Aruca there.
Awesome.
You can't beat Agada for that Christmas experience, the largest and smallest Father Christmas, and the largest and smallest sack, Santa sack, to boot. And fruit, mushrooms, nuts, and veg contain plenty of vitamins you need in the cooler seasons. Nigel from Simon knows a thing or two about this. That's fantastic. And yeah, check out the GuMPer map, says by Randy, for more information, where he has done a sterling job. I think other challengers are coming forward to your supremacy there, Andy. Moaz, in my limited experience, says James, I've seen very few ramps, but many lifts, elevadors, and automatic doors. Thank you, James, for your help on that as well. It's a great question. Thank you, Moaz, on that. Scent of a woman. We were talking about that, weren't we? We're hairdressers, and we were talking about the smell you could smell. The people have been very kind with their comments this morning. Let's get into them. Temple motto: non nobis domine, non nobis sed nomini tua da gloriam. Not in our name, Lord, not in our name, but in the name of your glory. That's not a bad sentiment, is it? Scent of a woman. Son, pass me that bottle of Jack Daniels. Don't you mean Jack, sir? Son, when you've been known him as long as me, you can call him John. Hooah! And I think Doc has frozen there. He's just astounded by how much like Al Pacino that sounded. I think we've lost the Doc. Battery failure in a lay-by in Leiria. Convention of Christ, not confident. No nuns involved in the making of this establishment. Hola, bon dia. Overslept this morning. Morning, Gene. Currently, let's catch up with all your comments then. Currently, in the morass of the driving license exchange for 60 plus, I suspect by the time a significant number of people start complaining about the process, Portugal will simply exchange a foreign license for a Portuguese one with the same 2-year renewal requirement and medical exam. Good insight there, James. Doc, license, lol, 2 months in your dreams. And sadly not, says Moaz. Says Mark to Moaz, but an excellent result for Saudi Arabia. 2 months for a license. Yeah, that's brought up past pain for T-Duck, of course. Good one. Tell me another. Don't mention buckets. Oh, sorry. Just did that. Another reason to do 90 days. Oh, what, the driving license thing? Oh, not well done, Doc. You back with us?
Apparently, yeah.
Legend. Morocco versus Croatia, 30 minutes to go. Malossa and Madronio, very good in those. Let me just show you those again, those two glasses. Malossa, not tried that. That looks like a nice drop, though. I would have said that was a rather colourful white wine, but what did you just call that? The Madronia next to the Malossa. Okay, there will be Christmas lights on my balcony soon. Good. We'll do our bit. And on that matter of saving energy, this is a lovely Christmas present idea here, everybody. You can thank us later. Oh, hold on a minute. Let's just get that banner out of the way. Mum, can I put the heating on? Yeah, but it's part of your Christmas present. There might actually be parents saying that this year. Oh, my God. Okay, Portuglish is here. Lord Gilchrist, of course. And we've got Fiona, who's in as well, saying she'd much rather hear that news. I'm keeping an eye on that. Okay, where we're at the moment. New update. Lord Reid was beginning to read the ruling. And the news just in via the BBC is that Lord Reid says the full reasons for the decisions are set out in the judgment itself. He tells the court the Scotland Act gives the Scottish Parliament limited powers. Oh, no, he hasn't. That's just a bit more fluff and background. I will keep an eye on that. And Fiona's saying she'd much rather hear that news from us than the BBC. I'm watching you lovelies because I was too nervous to watch the updates from court. I want an indie Scotland, but wish rejoining the EU was guaranteed, which it's not so far. They can't say that. They won't say that, will they, politically? Somehow it feels the news either way will be nicer announced via the GMP than the BBC. That's the best review we've had this morning. I would like to think so. Okay, so back to your comments. Plenty of them this morning and a few dad jokes before we finish. Doc, quick question. When are you next over for a tractor ride? And are you as handy with a welder as B.A. Baracus? Great question. Thanks, Pete.
Oh, well, I've never done any welding, although I would like to. And I fully understand the the basic the idea behind it and how one is supposed to do it. But I've never welded. I don't know who B.A. Baracus is.
What?
Pity
the fool who doesn't know who B.A. Baracus is. Doc?
Hold on. Coming over for a tractor ride. I don't know. I think it's your turn to visit us, and you missed that opportunity when you came over for your CEF appointment. But yeah, maybe I'll drop in with my parents when they're over for Christmas. Otherwise, it'll be in the new year.
Lord Gilchrist is watching, and there is a man cave calendar coming up. What I suggest you do is combine the tractor and the welding with your naked calendar picture, Doc. Be careful where those sparks go with the welder. Have a paramedic standing by. Had some wind damage yesterday. Ripped the steel structure you sat by the pool in half. In half! Oh my goodness. Hope that everyone's safe there, Pete. Thought I'd help to further enhance Doc's remarkable wellness vibe by candidly fessing up that I will be a Labour voter next time around. Look at that. We've had a political turnaround live at the breakfast show.
Yay. Well done, Doug.
Douglas the Hughes is now a Labour voter, publicly announced. Your incessant berating of the man has changed him.
Heaven has no greater joy than the news of a repentant sinner.
No, they are shortening the span between 6 and 1 a.m., so maybe 7 and midnight. Boo, anyway. But thank you for clarifying that. In my negativity, I went straight to that. I'm so sorry, James. Relax. They're not banning Christmas lighting, simply reducing usage. Well, anyway, it's still pointless propaganda and gaslighting as far as I'm concerned. And yet he's on his knees. He's voting Labour and fessing up to voting for Brexit here. Incredible. Are you going to forgive him? You're looking quite priestly there from that angle. Will you forgive?
I'm always ready to forgive someone who realizes the error of their ways. Absolutely.
So gracious. Eat healthy. You don't need vitamins. Thank you, T-Duck. What? No floating Christmas tree at San Martino de Porto. We should wait and see. And if there isn't one, maybe I should go out there myself in a gesture of anger.
Carl, I have to challenge that thing about eating healthy, not needing supplements. It's absolutely proven. for even fresh fruit and vegetables now have massively decreased levels of micronutrients compared to 50 years ago. Unless you are growing your own produce in an area that is never subject to chemicals, has never been over farmed, and you're eating it within a day or two of harvesting, then you are gonna need supplements.
All right, there's only one way for you two to settle this out, and that is to have a fight after the show in the playground. Okay. T-Duck, for the driving license, I'm not the only one lately whose driving license card came in only 2 weeks. What? After getting all the papers proper and visiting IMT, maybe they're getting more organized. T-Duck does not want to hear that. A challenge to his nutritional advice, and now people getting their driving licenses in only 2 weeks. Morning, Andy, mate, from the Pete. And question for Dot, another one. I have pinched a nerve in my neck. What'd you do that for? Causing shoulder and neck discomfort. Any suggestions for stretching? Don't, maybe?
I think what's his name?
Doctor.
No, what's his name?
Is that Leona? Morning, Leona. You're so quiet.
Matty is the best person to probably the best person.
Morning, Leona. How are you? Tudo bem?
So yeah, Matty would give brilliant advice and therapy as far as I was concerned. And if you can't access Matty, then I would suggest a chiropractor. After a and actually, yeah, Leona had a Chinese neck stretch on, which was very rapidly effective.
Uplifting.
A Chinese what? Chinese neck stretch. Sounds like it could be a nice dish as well as a medical treatment.
It was a Chinese guy who was giving massages and things, and he felt Leona's neck and almost pulled the head off, and it was much better straight away.
Wow. Okay, and here's another man cave calendar suggestion as well. So, Lord Gilchrist, go and see Matty. Both of you get your kit off and recreate the scene from Ghosts, where the medical treatment, the stretching treatment, turns into the pottery creation scene of Ghosts. That'll be beautiful. I would buy that calendar, if only just to amuse myself each time I make a cup of tea in the kitchen. Apparently, the only people that still think Brexit was a good idea are the over 60s, so reminiscing over a past that never existed, like policies impossible to enact. So they were on the right lines then, Pete. They just were never going to get what they wanted, I suppose. Brexit, a slow puncture in the UK's tyres. Oh, come on, cheer up, everyone. Morning, 3-piece. Hoping for a little break in the clouds this afternoon. Pete Bleach, your Christmas lights are going to be visible from the moon. That's the spirit, Pete. Pictures, please. Scotland already, you might have aircraft landing there. Be careful. Scotland already voted after Brexit. Why do they get a do-over? Oh, point of order. He's got a bit of Scottish blood in him, that one, doesn't he, as well? Lol, Gary, 40% this morning. Think my lights may be a little intermittent, but of course, you and the family are always welcome to see for yourself. Please send pickies. It sounds fantastic. Elvis Piri, that is tenuous, but we're probably going to go there, I think, at some point. Piri on the wall. Who's the smartest of them all? Thank you very much. Will we get an answer today? How are the dogs? Nigel Henry, any flight time recently? But we'll... yeah, fair enough. The UK, Scotland, whoever wanting to come back to the EU, but will the EU want those countries who turn around in that way? Fair point, Carl. Will Europe actually still be coherent in 20 years? I wonder. Only if they adopt a single currency, Doug, and take full membership. But could you blame them, says Gary. We thought that might prompt a few comments. 180 days in Portugal, Spain would be great, as long as you don't need to travel through France to get there. Well, exactly. Chaos and confusion reigning here. And Fiona, have we got any news yet, Fiona? I'll have another look before the show is out. Can the doc contact Sergio on the accessibility in Portugal. We had a conversation, didn't we, with Sergio? Let's see if we can reignite that connection there, Doc. Sergio very keen as well to put accessible places on the map as well, quite literally. So Scotland want independence so it can join the EU. How's that logical then? Ooh, that's got Gary going there, I think. No, Pete. Being busy equipping for the Icelandic trip. Oh, nice one. Yeah. Rule from Brussels instead of London. Maybe that's what they would prefer after years of not experiencing the latter there. Yeah, a different government. We get your point, though. And let me just have a quick look at the BBC. Is there any ruling? Oh, it says the UK government will be pleased with this result. Scottish government loses independence vote ruling. So there you go. I'm sorry to break it to you. I've ripped the plaster right off there, but the news is not good for independence for Scotland, particularly for you, Fiona, who tuned in specifically for that. Sorry, I don't think that's the news you want to hear. Last few comments then. It's 5 minutes past 10. I'm sure Doc and Leona need to go and get a bitoc or something. No, they won't because they're vegetarian. But the vegetarian equivalent thereof at a cafe somewhere nearby in Leiria. Last few comments then. Yeah, Doc Man Cave. I don't know if that's for the naked photo with the welding equipment, but yes, let's say yes. Hola, bon dia, catching the show live today. Oh my, France looked dominant yesterday. Oh my, France, you're looking very dominant. Standing there, must be the spirit of Emmanuel Macron. He's had a couple of slaps publicly recently, hasn't he? Not the he's getting a bit of literal backlash in the streets. Those maps are not a huge area. Is it just the one that covers Tatpin? I'm not sure what he's talking about there. Doc, show me the evidence. Okay, maybe he will later on today of the vitamins and minerals in food. Doug, now convince Garvo to switch to rejoin. Oh, let's not go down there. Let's not go there. Save that for your man cave on Friday night, folks. Scottish Parliament does not have the power to legislate for a referendum on Scottish independence. That news just in. Thank you, Mark, for that. Fruit and veg, not only low on nutrition, but often low on flavors too. Perhaps the two facets are entwined. We've opened some cans of worms this morning, haven't we? News, no Scottish referendum. Fiona doesn't want to hear any more of that sort of talk, I don't suppose. We know how well Germans... He's afraid to go over to Matty's house by the sound of it. Come on, it's going to be fine. As long as you turn it into a ghost film, like the ghost-inspired pottery scene, everything's going to be fine over there. Hugs to the lovely Leona. What a lovely note to finish on, I think, there. Hugs to the lovely Leona. Hugs to the lovely Doc. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on Ask Anything About Portugal.
My pleasure, as always.
Just quickly then.
Go on, sorry. Sorry, I just need to make an apology for next month. On the 4th Wednesday, which is the 28th, I will be driving my parents down to Lisbon Airport, so I probably won't be able to appear on the 28th. So,
well, that's a lovely, yes, well remembered. The first Christmas greeting here on Good Morning Portugal show. Thank you for that, Doc. Your Christmas gift then and your party bag today is 3 dad jokes. Did I already tell you my deja vu dad joke? Is he frozen or is he just not laughing? It's hard to tell. I no longer see my wife and kids.
I didn't hear
that. Did I? But you might have already heard it. Did I already tell you my deja vu dad joke?
I've seen it.
I no longer see my wife and kids. It's because of the gambling. I won the lottery and moved to Hawaii. He's holding firm there. Okay, he's gone. He's lost it. And the final one then, easier said than done, unless it's Worcestershire sauce. Not for an Englishman who from Birmingham. It's very easy for you to say that. Would you like to demonstrate for us?
Say what? So,
Worcestershire sauce. This is the joke here on the script.
It's Worcestershire sauce.
Don't worry.
It's Worcestershire sauce.
No, he couldn't say it, as it turns out. Doc, thank you very much.
It's not Worcestershire.
It's not even in Worcestershire. Great job. See you soon. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you tomorrow for talk about dating, relationships and marriage, traditional versus modern, with Maria João Silva tomorrow. Take care, folks. Have a great day. And bye for now. Cheers, Doc. Cheers, Leona. Bye.
Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, GuMPers.